we have here with us again the Subaru Crosstrek. Let's do another review.
The Crosstrek is Subaru's current entry-level model in the Philippines. Essentially a raised version of the iconic Imprezas from years ago, it keeps itself as one of the Japanese automaker's most popular models here. What we have here is the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek 2.0 IS EyeSight, and it's priced at 2,018,000 Philippine pesos.
So we've already shown you before the base model IL variant. This one is the IS like we just mentioned, and it does get a couple of differences. But first, let's talk about how it looks. So as I've shown you before, it looks very aggressive like pretty much every other new car these days. But it is aggressive in a good way, so it still stands out and you know it's a Subaru when you look at it. So anyway, some of the differences this gets over the IL are the full LED headlights, so LED DRLs, LED projectors, LED turn signals, and LED fog lights down there. And we also have this like gray, glossy gray finish for the front grille. So the IL only had it in black. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only difference here in front. So let's check out the side. And moving here to the side, another difference you will see are the wheels. So this now gets two-tone 18-inch alloy wheels. The IL only had blacked out 17-inch alloy wheels. But anyway, other stuff we'll find here, like there's these body cladding over here, which does make it look more aggressive and make it look more rugged, which is what the Crosstrek is really going for. Then if you look over here, we have gray colored side mirror cap, so that gives a little bit of contrast and looks really nice as well. Also, this color, by the way, it's a kind of bluish gray. I really like how it looks. I'm not sure what it's called, but I really like how it looks. It really matches the Crosstrek. Anyway, so we also have functional roof rails here. As you can see, we actually have something on top. So we have these Thule crossbars, we have a roof rack, and we also have an awning on the other side. So something to really match this car's lifestyle-oriented image. So yeah, looks really good as well, and really matches actually how this car looks. So if you want to go camping or something, make sure to check those out. And here at the back, it's very similar to the IL. So we still have LED taillights which have the C shape. So we only have incandescent turn signals, but I guess that's fine here. But yeah, still looks very much the same bumper, same faux diffuser down there. I do think that this could use a little tailgate spoiler, maybe just a little bit more of that to make it look a bit sportier. So anyway, opening the tailgate, if I'm not mistaken, the IS is supposed to have a power tailgate, but this one doesn't. And so we do have some stuff here. I don't like basketball, so you just put that away. And then we have a very high floor. That's one thing you'll notice here. And space here should be about 400 liters, if I'm not mistaken. And it can fit about maybe 3 pieces of small luggage or 1 large piece, so just for reference. And we also have a cargo cover over here if you want to hide your stuff. So yeah, we do have that. So yeah, I think we can now head inside. And now we're inside the Subaru Crosstrek IS. So let's start the engine first. So push button start. And I don't know if you heard it, but it does sound really nice. And there we go. Let's have some aircon over there. Let's just lower that a bit. So anyway, this is basically the same as the IL as well. So there are a few differences here as well. But let's talk about the style first. So this is typical Subaru interior, very familiar design, very much similar to any Subaru model that you can find. It's two-tone, so black and gray. And up here we have some soft touch materials on top of the dashboard and this cheap feeling hard touch area, which is also finished in this gray textured plastic. It kind of feels scratchy and doesn't look really nice, and sad that they replaced the huge soft touch leather thing here before with this instead. So sadly, that's a bit of a downgrade over there. The door panel also hard touch plastic here on top, but we do have this leather portion over here. It's also gray. Not a huge fan of the color. And we also have an armrest here which is finished in vinyl instead of leather. That one reminds me of a Mitsubishi L300 or those base model Toyota Innovas from more than 10 years ago. So it's a bit sad. But at least it does look really good. And yeah, everything here does just feel like a Subaru except for that portion of the dashboard. And over here we have this very nice steering wheel, 3-spoke, very typical Subaru as well. It's the same, if I'm not mistaken, as the XV before. It's tilt and telescopic as well. So lots of adjustment over there. We have paddle shifters, controls here for our instrument cluster, and controls for our EyeSight driver aids over there, and a sport and intelligent mode button as well. Then for our horn, It's typical Japanese car horn. So anyway, let's check out what's here. Again, we have some traditional analog gauges. So Subaru hasn't gone that route yet with fully digital display. So I actually appreciate this. We only have a small screen in the middle, and it does show just the important information. So the door is open right now, so I can show you, but we do have there stuff like our trip computer, odometer, fuel economy, and such. Those can be found over there. Then moving to the center, we do have that Subaru Starlink infotainment system. So I think there's a 14.6-inch display, or maybe even smaller. I'll just put it down here. I'm not sure exactly how big this is, but it houses almost all the functions that you can have in this car. So it is pretty responsive, a bit slow, but at least it is responsive. And unfortunately, some of the functions that should be buttons are here, such as the vehicle's auto hold function, which is right over there. And also, well, other settings are also there. So anyway, we have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both wireless. And we also have our aircon controls down here. So it's touchscreen, so we can turn it on and off there. Fan speed, everything is controlled here in the screen. Thankfully, though, Subaru has thought that the important one here is the temperature. So we do have buttons for that, thankfully, right here on the sides. We also have volume knob and a tuning knob. So at least they did give us those. Also up here, we have some information about the vehicle, such as our average speed, drive mode, that's the X mode, by the way, and also a audio display. So yeah, that's what we have here in this screen. Then moving down, we have our auxiliary input. I didn't know some new cars still had that. We have two USB ports, USB A and C, and a wireless phone charger as well. Then here's our shifter, so just a normal shifter with manual mode. Then we use our paddle shifters, which I showed you earlier. Then over here, we have an electronic parking brake. Again, auto hold is located here in the infotainment. And we have two cup holders and a 12-volt power outlet over here. Then our center armrest over here has a very good amount of storage underneath. Then moving towards the seats, since this is the IS, we do have leather seats over here. Thankfully, we now have that. The IL only has black fabric. This one has a combination of black and gray leather, so it's perforated as well, has a very nice pattern, and they're actually very comfortable. This is also powered for the driver's seat, so easy to control, of course. Sadly, we don't have memory seats, but I guess that's the only thing really missing here anyway. So I guess we can now check out the back. And now we're here at the back of the Crosstrek IS, and I think this is really where Subaru kind of cheaped out with this crossover. So there's really not much you can find over here. For starters, the door panel is completely hard touch plastic now, and it kind of feels cheap actually. So it's the same as that gray plastic in front. It feels very cheap in here, and we have more of that Mitsubishi L300 like armrest back here. And then seats are leather, thankfully. At least they didn't turn this into fabric. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, leather seats like in front, and still with the gray accents at least, and the perforation. So they didn't cheap out on that at least. And then leg room is pretty good, foot room decent, and knee room is really good as well. This set to my driving position. I'm 5 feet and 7 inches in height. Headroom though is a bit limited, so my head is almost touching the ceiling, and it's made even tighter by the fact that we have this space here for the sunroof in front. What I do think they added here are these USB ports, so USB A and C just like in front. I believe the IL didn't have these, so at least, if I'm not mistaken, we now have that over there. But here is a center armrest with two cup holders. So yeah, that's pretty much it here for the back seat. And now we're driving the Subaru Crosstrek IS. So when I drove the IL a few months ago, or rather last year, it was a very good car to drive. And this one, having the same engine and just being basically the same overall, is also just as good as I remember. So let's talk about the engine first. This is powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine that produces 156 horsepower and 196 Newton meters of torque, paired to Subaru's Lineartronic CVT, and it sends power to all four wheels with the symmetrical all-wheel drive system. So that's one thing that sets this apart from all its rivals, it having an all-wheel drive system, and also it being naturally aspirated only, because we have the Toyota Corolla Cross with its hybrid powertrain, and we also have the Honda HR-V with its available turbocharged engines. And still, despite that, I still think that this is one of the best engines you can get in this segment. So most people would think that turbo is the way to go, but
this one being normally aspirated still really good, I think. So first, it's very responsive in its response. So obviously responsive in its response. So yeah, just tap the accelerator and it responds immediately, which is very unusual for most CVT. So this one has instant response, and it's also very linear in its acceleration because of that CVT. Most CVTs would have some lag, especially on the upper end, but this one, the Crosstrek, does not have that. So despite it having lower power, lower torque compared to most of its rivals, no problem at all when it comes to the engine. And also, I have to say that, again, despite it having one of the lower numbers in its segment, it still feels so much better than its rivals. So you don't really feel any lack of power. You don't feel like you're losing steam. Although there are times that you might feel such, but most of the time you just don't. So it's pretty good overall. Then when it comes to the way it is handled, it's also really good. So for one thing, it's very planted. Then Subaru has just done a good job with the way this steers as well. So steering is light, but it's not so light. It's just the perfect, or rather the right amount of light. It's not heavy at all, and it still offers you decent amounts of feedback. So just you can tell that just do anything, it really shows you what you're doing. It really follows where you want to go, and it really just really goes the direction that you want it to. So you won't be confused at all when driving this car. And then when it comes to NVH insulation, another good thing about this car is just that. So road noise is not so loud, it's not so intrusive, and so are the vibrations in this car. So there are no vibrations. It's a very smooth engine that we have over here, and the ride quality is also really good. It's not so smooth, but it's not so firm either. So it's just balanced, just like what we saw in the previous Crosstrek that we reviewed, and even the Forester that we also reviewed. And also when we're stopped, so you don't really hear much of the outside noise, so it remains very quiet here inside. And we also have auto start stop in this car, so when we come to a stop, the car's engine will turn off, and it's also very smooth in the way it does that. Other cars, they really make you feel that you're stopping or their engine turned off, and when it starts, you really feel that as well. But here, it's very smooth. As for visibility in this car, so the windshield isn't that big, honestly, but it's positioned really well. We have large windows despite the higher belt line of this car, and we have a decently sized rear windshield as well, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. Also, the placement of the side mirrors are actually really good. But what I am noticing is, if I'm not mistaken, the last Crosstrek IS that I got into, although I didn't have it for review, I just got into it, had a 360 cam, although I'm not sure if it's a standard feature or was it a dealer installed accessory. So this one only has a reverse camera. Some people will definitely want that 360 camera. This one doesn't have that. But at least we do have sensors all around, which should also help in tight situations. As for driver assist system, so being a Subaru, we have the complete set of EyeSight driver aids over here. So we have adaptive cruise control, we have autonomous emergency braking, we have lane keeping assist, lane departure alert, and pretty much, yeah, we have everything here. Also the rear automatic braking, by the way. So the adaptive cruise control, the emergency braking are among the best, I think, that you can get in the industry. So Subaru's EyeSight is still one of the best, if not the best, that you can get. It's on the same level as Honda Sensing, Toyota Safety Sense. So it's in that level of how good it just is. Although the rear emergency braking might be a bit too aggressive at times, but yeah, pretty much the rest of it is all really good. In fact, when driving in low speed traffic, you can still use the adaptive cruise control, and it will even steer for you. Just make sure to be holding onto the steering wheel, and of course giving your own inputs, because this is not a self-driving car anyway. And as for fuel economy, we do have decent numbers. So inside the city, we're able to achieve around 10 kilometers per liter, and on the highway, about 20 kilometers per liter. So it's very efficient actually, despite it having the less powerful engine, the less amount of torque, probably having to work the hardest if you look at the numbers. But actually, no, it doesn't have to work as hard, which makes it also very fuel efficient. The Subaru Crosstrek may seem a bit pricey, but it puts a check on all the boxes that its target market needs and wants. It's comfy, has decent equipment, has a well-performing engine, is very stylish, and is the only all-wheel drive model in its segment. The IS variant takes it further, giving you so much more compared to the base IL variant for just an additional 30,000 pesos. It could definitely be more, but it's fine just as is.